I bet you. Oh, hang on. There she comes. She's there.
Okay.
She's there.
Okay.
Hello.
And I've got to send some emails out to add participants to some of Catherine's friends.
Because Zoom is not that easy to use. It's not like Skype. You just log in and that's it.
I know.
Zoom, you gotta go through all these hoops before it lets you in, because what they do, they charge money, you see, for everyone using this. So each person gets a specific address that they have to click on, and you gotta be patient until this whole thing checking you or whatnot until it logs you in. It doesn't do it automatically straight away like Skype. So it took a while. It took me a while to log in as well.
It did. Yeah,
I've been like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I've been working on this since 6:15.
Yeah, so you gotta, you know, when everyone, you know, I'm betting you now that there are people out there chucking things at the wall because they can't log in.
Yeah, I'm trying to invite participants.
Yeah. So what we might have to do, if you have the emails or you have the numbers, like mobile numbers, send them an email saying, look, you just have to be patient, keep trying, and eventually you will log in. Just keep on clicking on that long address and go through all the hoops and things that it's asking you to do.
Now I can't even, at the bottom, okay, here it is again. I'm trying to invite people.
Yeah. No, don't invite them. You've already invited them. They already have the link and they already filled out the form. All they got to do is click on that link.
No, Julie and 3 people do not have it.
Okay, well, the ones that haven't had it previously, they will need it. But the ones that already have the invite from you, they won't. It's 10:26 my time, so it's coming up to 7, and there's still only the 3 of us here.
Okay.
So it'll be like this, I'd say another half hour before it all sort of sorts itself out.
Yeah, I mean, holy crap.
You okay there, Pam?
Yes, I'm inviting people.
Yeah, so don't panic. It's just one of those things. It took me a while to log in as well.
Well, it wasn't this hard yesterday.
It wasn't so hard. Yeah, because, I don't know what happened.
I don't either, but I've been saying lots of shit.
Yeah, maybe that's why God got upset because you're saying lots of shits and now he's going up to shit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah. There you have it.
Well, I've been saying a few other words too.
Yeah. I've had a funny morning as well. One of the Buddhists sent me a message that, he totally disapproves of this new feminine rising and all sorts of, but he's a Buddhist. He has his head is shaved and he's got this big image of the Buddha behind him, and he doesn't even realize that that's how Buddha got through the middle way, and the middle way is the feminine way, the heart. So off he went, and I had to block him from my group and unfriend him before the conversation got really ugly.
Really?
Yeah, so you have it. Buddhists are patriarchs, they're not, there's no feminine image in the Buddhism.
No.
Funny to say that, but Buddha, before he went through, or his middle eye opened and so on, he touched with his fingers earth, you see, Mother Nature. It was the goddess that spoke up for him and said, yeah, you can come through, I'm your witness. And that's how he got through. But Buddhists don't understand any of this. It's all this new feminine stuff, feminine rising is frightening to the.
It is threatening. It's threatening.
Very threatening, yeah, very threatening. You could see on Trump's face, after these by-elections, he wasn't happy, the big patriarch that he is. Stuff didn't go his own way. Many women got elected.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But there you have it. It's going to be, Pam, you okay?
Oh, I'm mad as a hornet.
You're a metazoa.
I can't even, I'm trying to type Dale's name, and normally they pop up. They're not popping up.
Yeah, something is not right today for some reason. Gods have thrown their 5 cents into the works. They'll come up.
We shouldn't have to invite them each time.
No, you've already invited them. All they have to do is just follow the links now.
Well, it was 3 of them that didn't have the links.
Oh, okay, so that's fine, yeah. But the others should be popping in now too, because it's after 7.
Well, Cynthia, you said Amy's running late.
Yes,
Okay.
about 15 minutes late.
All right. Amy, the busybody.
Yes. I can't even find Dale on my contacts now.
Yeah, something is going on today.
But
Funny.
see, you don't need to invite him, Pam. You
Yes,
didn't
he
invite us.
said to send him the number again.
Oh,
I
beg
texted
your pardon. Okay, beg your pardon.
Well, that's all right. We might just have this little meeting. That's just as well. It'll get recorded.
Goodness.
Are we recording this? Maybe not yet.
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
yet.
Once we kind of stop saying shit, we can start recording.
Well, you want me to say the F-bomb? Because I've said a few of those
too many people.
The F-bomb.
Not my group. We like
I didn't think, Pam, I didn't think I was getting in either. And that's why I had called you and you didn't answer. So I called Amy. And as I was talking to Amy, all of a sudden Peter showed up on the screen.
Yeah, just shops. Same with me. It took me a while. I couldn't get in. He was saying that the meeting, the host is starting the meeting from again or something. And if I'm the host, I should log in and start the meeting. But then it just logged me in.
Pam, I tried to enter the meeting ID that you gave us yesterday, and that did not work.
Oh, yeah, this has a new one. And normally it will take me right to my page where I've scheduled all of them. And it didn't do that today.
Yeah. Yeah, Zoom is kind of complicated because, like I said, it's not like Skype. Zoom makes money out of this, so they keep everything very tight. And if you're not the person that is paying and trying, paid for the service, and you're trying to log in, they'll kick you out.
I keyed in that number.
There's somebody else here too. Who's this?
Yes, somebody else.
Okay, there's somebody else. Hello. You got to tell people to turn on the mic. That's one thing. You got to turn on your mic, the new person that just logged in. You got to unmute the microphone, otherwise.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
There we are. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
This is Yurik.
Yeah, hi, Yurik. Because every time you log into Zoom, for some reason, the mic is always mute. They don't want you to talk. They just want you to sit there and listen, I think.
Well, that's
not
a bad practice.
There's 4 of us. It's not about practice, you gotta listen.
It's called listen.
Listen.
One of the greatest comments I ever heard was, "You can't learn while you're talking."
That's right. I think the Dalai Lama said you can, by talking you repeat what you have learned, but by listening you might actually learn something new.
Yes.
One of those wise things that I remember. Yeah, it'll be a bit of a while. There's a few more that are trying to log in. I don't know if you had any difficulties logging into Zoom.
No, I just no problem. I was already prepared.
Really?
Well, I just had to type in my name and my email.
I just had to fill out the form.
It was just a momentary slow down.
And did you just click on the link Pam sent? Is that how you got in?
Yeah, I just clicked on the link. Yes.
That's how we all got in. That's how I got in. But it took a while to actually get in. asking me all sorts of questions. So that's
Oh,
how we all
right.
go.
Well, because I prepared yesterday. I set up my Zoom yesterday, so
Mm.
maybe that shortened it.
No, it's something to do with the person that actually sets up the meeting, and it's
Yes.
Pamela. If the person who's set up the meeting is not first to log in, the others are trying to log in before, it will not let you log in until that person. But for some reason, me and Cynthia, we've logged in first before Pamela. So it's a funny thing. It's just one of those things we're just gonna have to persevere with Zoom. This is the first time we're using it. So.
I'm in, and Yurik and Cynthia and Mark are in.
So sounds like Catherine is having problems too.
Well, are you logged in? Did you? Well, yeah, I can't even get their emails to connect on my server when I type in their name, because I talked to both of them earlier today. Catherine has a flood.
Whoa.
A flood.
Oh, she said it's taken care of.
A flood.
But you didn't send you sent the link that I sent on Friday, right? Okay. I don't know. I can't see it. And I can't get to my page. But did you send them the link that I sent you Friday? That's the one, not yesterday, but Friday. Well, look on your email.
Pam,
Yes.
I entered this new number for my meeting ID and got in somehow that way. Do you want me to give it to you? Because I know you can't see it.
I think the number is actually unique to every participant. You can't use the number twice. It all, otherwise people would just send the same number and Zoom wouldn't make money.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Look, if this doesn't work out, there'll be problems. We'll just go back to Skype next time.
Right.
Until we sort this out. And I think in Skype, you can have up to 25 people linked up.
On Friday. Friday. Yeah. Okay. See, when I try to type Linda's, okay. I'm gonna hang up. Dale's trying to get in too.
Yeah.
Oh, he says he's on standby.
Oh, time to wait. That I was on standby too.
Yeah. He just has to wait until it logs him in automatically. Just got to be patient. Don't click anything.
Dale, wait until it logs in automatically.
Just got to be patient.
Had trouble getting in as well. Okay, I sent him a text.
Mark, I noticed.
Yeah. Yes.
I noticed that you have a Polish first name and.
Yeah. Marek Kaziniec. Yes. We were. I left Poland when I was 14 or 15, I think.
Oh, okay. I left Poland when I was 12.
Yeah, so we're about the same age. Yeah,
well, I think I'm a little older probably than you.
Yeah, possibly. We left and we lived in Austria for a year first, and then we migrated to Australia.
Awesome.
We arrived in, was it 1982, I think.
Mm-hmm.
many, many moons ago now. So it seems. Yeah. So Pamela, is Catherine having problems to log in as well?
She's trying to send them an email. Both those women have contacted her,
Yeah.
and she's trying to send them the new link.
Why doesn't she just connect through phone? Or is it expensive? I guess maybe it's expensive through phone.
Yeah, unless you've got it connected wirelessly to your router at home, it is expensive. Pamela, did you set up 2 meetings? Because I keep hearing you talking about 2 addresses that 2 invites that you've sent.
Well, we had a meeting yesterday.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to get all this worked out, and I thought I had.
Okay, so you set up this meeting earlier, and then you send out another invite for the yesterday's meeting.
Yes.
Okay, now do they know the difference between the 2? All right, we've got somebody here. You got, yeah, the new person. The new person. You've got to undo. You've got to unmute the microphone. Can you see in the left?
Gotcha. Hi. Can you hear me?
Hello. Hi.
Hi, this is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Oh,
Yeah,
good,
we can hear you now.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay.
Well, if we can get it set up.
We're just getting Zoom sorted out. It's a
I
little
know.
bit awkward.
Did Catherine send you the link, and that's how you were able to get on?
Yeah, she sent me one that didn't work, and then this is the one that did work.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are 2. Yeah.
Were you able to get on right away?
Yeah, that with the new ID, the first ID that was given to me was invalid. Well, actually, that's not true. It took me 2 tries, but then I was able. The second try, I was able to get on. So by clicking the Zoom link, not by doing the dial-in.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes a difference.
So you just got to, Pamela, when you're talking to people, you've got to know which one is which, not the later invite, but the first invite. They have to go to the first invite. The later, that's what's confusing everyone.
I don't think so.
No.
But Cynthia, could you send Dale an email?
Sure.
The one that got you in?
We have 2 Cynthias.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh.
We have Cynthia and Cynthia
Are you
St. Cyr.
Yeah.
Cynthia.
Hi. That's
Nice
nice.
to meet
Okay.
you.
Do you want me to, nice to meet you. Do you want me to jump off and forward the correct ID number to Dale then? Yes.
The other Cynthia.
Me? Okay.
Oh.
What's his email?
Dale, D-A-L-E, Meissen, M-I-E-S-E-N, @gmail.com.
Has he not tried to get in touch with you, Pamela?
Yes, he's waiting. He's trying to get in.
You can't get in. Okay.
And that's Catherine. You need to unmute. Catherine.
Or is there someone there? Yeah, there's someone new.
Catherine.
Yeah, I unmuted. Okay, did Linda or
hello.
has Linda been able to get in or not?
I haven't heard from her.
Or Cynthia?
I'm here.
We have 2
Yes,
Cynthias.
thank you, Catherine.
Okay, hi Linda.
Cynthia is going to try to send you her link to get in.
And
This
Linda,
is the one you sent on the 9th.
Linda, you need to unmute.
We've got,
The top of
everybody's been
the screen,
having trouble.
unmute.
So there,
Yes, it's gonna be like this.
Julie,
It's been usual for a while.
yeah,
Okay, so we need to get Cynthia on.
her email with the link right now.
I sent it. I just,
Catherine, Catherine, this is Cynthia St. Cyr. I'm on.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for sending that to me.
Yeah. What about
Oh.
Yurik? Where's Yurik? There
Yurik
he is.
here.
Yurik is here.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my crew.
You're sorted out.
Hey, Rick.
Hello.
Hello.
I was a bit of a drama with Zoom. We got all zoomed out.
We're zoomed.
We're all zoomed. It took me a while to get in as well. Started to read these messages and I'm thinking, what is all this going on about?
I'm calling Julie.
What is the
How
date?
many more? Pamela, how many more?
Well, Amy, Julie, the other Linda, so 3, I think.
3.
And
Dale,
Dale.
have you
Oh,
found Dale yet?
Dale.
Dale is still lost in the internet. All right, we'll wait a little more.
Today's the 11th. Okay. I sent it to him, Pam.
Okay.
At least we'll have something to talk about in the pub.
Hey.
I'll tell you a story. How I tried to connect into a meeting on Zoom. I'll tell you what happened.
Write a book.
We've all
If you
had a
write a
little
book.
trouble getting in. So hopefully,
What?
There's someone new? I heard someone now.
We have one Linda.
Mm-hmm.
Linda's on the bottom.
Yes.
So
Becky,
you all know what we're going to be talking about today, dreams, right?
It's a good topic.
It's a good topic. It's a very important topic, dreams.
um,
And Merrick, maybe while the 3 new people that are my friends, Linda and Yurik and Cynthia are listening, could you go over the books that you asked people to have last week?
Yeah. With this type of work, because we're talking about the soul has its own language. Not so much on the personal level, but once you start getting into that deeper collective level, where we all dream the same dream, the soul will talk in its own specific language, mythological language, symbols. So you need to process your dreams properly, understand what happened. You need to have the right books that will be able to interpret this for you, which means you can't really go to any dream interpretation books that you find on a shelf. They're quite useless for that. So you need books, especially by Joseph Campbell, Comparative Mythology, and Depth Psychology of C.G. Jung. Now, why? Because these 2 gentlemen by far have interpreted these symbols the best, these archetypes the best. So you can start with Campbell's, for instance, Hero with 1,000 Faces. That's a really good one to start with. Creative Mythology is another good one. Goddesses. I forget the name now. But once you start reading Campbell, you might like it. So just go through anything you can find about Campbell. And what's good about that is because it activates that deeper level within you. Because you're listening. It's like reading fairy tales. Mythology is the same. Because it's just really one story being told and retold in many various ways. And that's the quest for the soul. So you have the calling, to do the quest. Then you have the quest itself when you enter into this deeper dimension of work, where the information circulates between you and soul through your intuition, let's say. Working with mythological symbols is really good for that. And then you actually enter into this really deep dimension where you might climb a mountain to the apex, or go into a cave, or see a huge flowering tree, and there you get initiated to your own divine path, what you really are. We are all just this eternal divinity, and it repeats in everything. It's like a fractal system. The universe is fractal. So everything that you see, everything that you touch is supported by this, and it's enlivened by this. And we call it, in that psychology, we call it instinct. That's why it's a feminine mystery, because it's instinct. I see we've got someone new.
Amy.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, Jung. Now, the Jung books are difficult to read because Jung uses a lot of Greek words, he uses a lot of ancient Greek words, he uses Latin. So by the time you learn his language, it might seem a little bit difficult, but you'll get the gist as well. He's really good at interpreting these dreams, these archetypal dreams. And the book that I would recommend of Jung's is Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Now, why? Because in there you see the whole process of this life's destiny, of this journey inward and then return. From the beginning, from when he was a baby, all the way to the time, to his old age in the 80s, when he passed away. So, you know, in his midlife, in his mid-40s, he split with Freud. See, I call him Freud. Freud. Why? Because Freud was concerned with that personal level of dreams, only the personal level, where mom, dad, and kid, and what your society has sort of taught you. This is the ego stuff. But he observed in his patients, Jung, that there's a deeper, another level, which repeats in all his patients. And he followed that inward. And he calls it the spirit of the depth, compared to the spirit of the times, is the spirit that the TV values, let's say. The ego, the TV values, the personal unconscious, he calls it the personal unconscious. And the deeper stuff is the collective unconscious, the spirit of the depth. He was establishing a relationship with his soul. And his soul is only a spark of the larger unconsumed fire, the greater soul that we all are, within which we all are. The entire universe is supported by this. So these are the books that I would recommend for you. Then is, of course, Marie-Louise von Franz. Are you familiar with Marie-Louise von Franz? What have you got there, Catherine?
Anne Baring and Jules Cashford.
Yeah, that one is really good. Why? Because it talks about the soul, the dimension of the goddess, the feminine mystery, the divine feminine. When I talk about the divine feminine, I mean soul, that invisible dimension of dreams, of visions, of intuitions, of creative epiphanies, of poetry, not on the surface poetry, me and my cat, but the deeper poetry, you know, me and my beloved, like Rumi or Hafiz, you know, Al-Halaj, Dante, I'm talking about the Dante, the comedy, yeah? So this is the poetry, or art. Picasso was really good at this, although he would never admit that his work was deeper than on the surface, because he made a fortune out of his work, and if he started to get associated with spirituality, he would lose value, but he knew what he was painting. You know, his work is very deep, and he's touching on that deeper collective level, if any of you are familiar with his work. And Dali's work, art, Salvador Dali, art, is also quite deep. So do we have everyone now?
Well, Julie's not here, and I tried to call her, and
she's not answering.
So I don't know.
Anyway, okay, we'll start, and she can just join in, and she can listen to the recording. Pamela, do you want to record?
It's
recording already.
Not recording by itself, is it? Okay.
It says so.
On the right corner, Merrick, you'll see a red thing that says REC in the right corner.
Okay, well, so everyone has to obviously do their own recording, because if you don't press record, it won't. And then, or perhaps you can just ask someone later for a copy of the recording. But I would say if there's an option down there that says record, just press that and we'll record everything I said.
Well, it's already on, so that means that Pamela is recording it. And then
okay, fine.
Zoom sends a link to her a couple hours later that she can disperse to each person's email.
Okay, as long as someone is recording and we have a copy of that for anyone who wants to listen later, that's fine. All right, so I'll start again from you.
I wanted to say something. I know we're sorry we're starting so late, but I think you want people to hold their questions and comments till maybe the last half hour. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, please. So so I so I don't go off on a tangent and start talking about something else like I normally do, so I can stay focused on dreams. Otherwise, I'll just go off on a tangent and we'll forget about dreams. We'll talk about something else.
If any of you need to jump out, before we get finished. You know, don't say bye or anything, just leave.
Yeah, there's no need for just go away. There's no need for formality. If you need to leave early, that's all right. Just just
Amy, are we talking about you?
unfriend
I'm
us.
not leaving, baby. I'm here.
Okay, good. Well, I think Dale wasn't here. You might just go ahead and say your name for everybody so they know.
He has to unmute his mic first. Dale.
Dale, hi Dale. Welcome aboard to this
Hello,
crazy,
everyone. I'm Dale.
this crazy crew of Zoom people.
Gracious.
There you have it.
More the merrier, huh?
Yeah, the more the merrier. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Zoom boat. Welcome
Okay.
onto the Zoom boat. And off we
Okay.
go. We're zooming along.
That's Amy that's been laughing her head off. And so each of you jump in and say your name.
I am Yurik. Hello.
Hi, Yorick.
Well, hello.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
I'm in Washington State.
I'm
And
sending
you have a cat.
I have a cat.
Okay, so I'll start from beginning. Now, we're going to be talking about dreams today. And there are two levels, like I've explained a little bit before. There are two levels to dreams. There's the personal level and there's the collective level. So I'll talk first about the personal. I've already told you a little bit about the collective. The collective level is very hard to get into. You need incubation. And I'll explain what incubation is. Incubation is where you really go inward and you live in solitude, and it's longer than days, because in our Western secular culture we're so addicted to life and to our phones and to all this information that people actually go crazy without having anything around them for longer than 2 minutes. But to incubate, to really go and to the deeper level, the collective, what we call eternity, you need to go inward into solitude for days on end, weeks. Often, for me, it was weeks before anything happened. And it's not that you don't do anything. You actually got to get involved with the inspirations, with the intuitions that happen to you. And for that, I'll explain at the end. The best method that I've found is working with mythological symbols. Why mythological symbols? Because the symbols are already talking about that dimension. You are already in the language of the soul. Because where you're going is a totally different dimension. You know, we're talking a different language than a personal level. Personal level says, your soul will say, give you advice, oh look, don't travel this road, don't travel on freeway because it's blocked. Don't buy this now, it'll be cheaper 2 weeks later. Don't speak to that person or ignore that person because they're trying to stab you in the back. You will just speak in its own, in everyday language. But the deeper you go to that mythological language, to that mythological dimension, it will speak its own language. It will say, go and find a rock, a stone at the foot of the tree. Go and drink from the fountain of life. I am the all that repeating all. You know, you've got to understand all these things, because otherwise you go, what the heck is going on? So for that you need to have no knowledge of mythology and the wording, scripture, legend, fairy tales, and like I said to you, you need to have someone who's already done this before, like Campbell or Jung. So we'll start with the personal level. Now, with the personal level, is the way I work with it is I'm working on a project, for instance, like I was writing my book, and I would before I go to sleep, I put all the stuff that I'm working on my bedside table so that it's next to me, and before I'm already in bed, I would make a dialogue in my head with the soul. I would say, you know, what am I missing here? How can I make this argument better? You have to be as clear as possible. How can I conclude my book so that it'll be understood by everyone? And then you fall asleep. But you also, on your bedside, you also have which all of you should by now, you have your dream diary. You have where you write down your dreams. And then in the morning, instead of just getting up straight away and going and making your coffee, if you do that, you forget your dreams straight away. So what you do is you lay in bed where you're waking up. You're still with one foot in the dream world. You can hear what's going on and see what's going on, but your other is already starting to hear the birds chirping. You know, you can hear yourself breathing and it's quiet. So you're just still in that special trance state between the two states, between the timeless and time. And there you will have your instructions. If you don't have them deeply in your dream, so you have to remember your dream, often these instructions happen at that little threshold, or that trance, I call it trance space, where suddenly a voice will say, so and so and so and so and so, and you've got to be able to catch that. Or it'll be inside your dream when you have met someone, a wise person or someone who knows more than you, and I'll go into examples in a minute, and he will tell you or she will tell you, this is what you need. Now, if the dream isn't specific enough for you, if you haven't had enough, hasn't answered your question, you can always ask again, because what you're actually doing is you're creating a relationship with your soul. So then your soul becomes your guide and your partner in life, someone that you can completely trust. So that eventually you live from your heart rather than relying on authorities and the security of the state. You have your own security within you. And that's when you start to make a clean break from society too. You kind of move out onto the margins and people think you're weird. So, yeah. So I'll give you a few examples what I mean on this personal level. There was a story I was listening to Anne Baring. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her work. She's she's a Jungian analyst. She's a historian, and she's still alive with us. She's in her late 80s now. We're really lucky to still have her, because she still does lectures and books, and she's very active in promoting the divine feminine, the soul. If you would like to listen to what she says, just look it up in YouTube. There's plenty of videos, and she does
How do you
seminars.
spell her last name?
Baring, B-A-R-I-N-G, Baring, Anne Baring. Now, she was telling a dream. She was a Jungian analyst for many years, so I think this little girl was actually, she was treating her. And she would have been maybe 5 or 6 years old. She was helping her out and not treating her. And this is the dream. The girl was dyslexic, so she was slow. And she couldn't learn. Parents were concerned because she wasn't learning she wasn't learning as fast as the other kids. They were calling her dyslexic. And this girl was obviously helped by an analyst. And she has this dream. She's gone up to the attic where she meets an old man with a wide beard. The beard is always a symbol of eternity. That's your mythological dimension. And there is a row of chests in the attic. So they go to the first chest, open the chest, it's empty. They go to the second, it's empty. And they work their way all the way to the last chest. They open the last chest, and inside is a horse with a beautiful ruby-studded saddle. The moment the girl picks up the horse becomes alive. It is a living horse, little living horse. What happened was the girl became quite a famous show jumper, a horse show jumper, and then a respected horse trainer. So the dream was giving her direction in life. You see? She naturally became attracted to horses, and so from this dyslexic, slow kid that everyone made fun of and parents were worried, she actually made a name for herself. So this is the power of dreams. So if you ask and you stay with it, it will help you, it will actually give you a direction in life. What is the right thing for you to do? Another such example is of a 7th century poet called Cadmon. And he lived as a monk in a monastery, which was actually run by an abbess, a woman. So you see, back in the day, up to the really 4th, 7th century, women were taking had a huge part in Christianity. It's only later that it was all men. But before, you know, there were, up to the 4th century, there were actually bishops and a huge part in the religion. Anyway, Kadmon. Kadmon was also a slow monk. He was a lay monk. And every time after dinner, the monks would take out the lyre and start singing. Kadmon would quietly sneak out and go back to his room and go to sleep. And one night, he's sleeping and he's dreaming. This presence stands above him and it says, Kadmon, sing me something. And Kadmon looks at the presence, this angelic presence, and says, well, that's why I leave the hole, because I don't know any songs. I can't sing. But the presence insisted, Kadmon, sing me something anyway. Sing me the beginning of things, the beginning of creation of things. And in that moment, he trusted himself and he started singing words and songs that he's never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up in the morning, he's all excited, and he goes to his chief monk and they take him to the abbess, and the abbess took him under her wing, and Kadmon became a rather famous poet. So this dream, again, this soul presence helped him to find his calling in life. Mm-hmm. If he didn't trust the dream, he'd still be sleeping with the animals for the rest of his life. But he did, you see. Something more recent that comes to mind is, I don't know if whether you know of a French chemist called Coquelet. He found the structure of benzene. And the way it happened in 2 dreams. In the first dream, he was seeing the molecules dancing around, dancing together. But that didn't really make much sense to him, so he needed more clarification. This is what I mean, that you can go back to the dream and find something, more information to clarify what you're looking for, the solution that you're looking for. And in the second dream, he sees clearly a snake biting its own tail. This is the Ouroboros. And the molecules dancing in a circle. That's the solution that he needed. He needed to have the molecules join up together in a circle, and that was the structure of benzene. And he didn't know anything about this before, you see. But the dream gave him that solution. So you know, you can do that with yourself as well. Before you go to bed and you have a query or you have a question, something before you go to bed, you ask. So what should I do with this? How should I solve it? One day, I remember in my early 20s, I was wondering, so what should I be doing now with my life? Where should I go? And I stayed with the question, and like I told you, I was sort of praying and talking to the soul in my dreams. And I asked the question, and it was only a few days later, and I had this dream. I'm in an attic. I wake up in bed, and in front of me, above me, there's a window, and the window is opened. So I float out this window, just like a feather, just by itself, float out, and it's the middle of the night. And I'm rising and rising and rising, and I look behind me, the lights of the city are fading, and I'm still rising and rising until I've risen all the way, perhaps to the level of where the satellites are, to see the curvature of the Earth. And there at that level, I suddenly stopped, and a huge finger, silver finger, I start to see the land in front of me, and a huge silver finger points to Scandinavia, to the top, and says, this is where you're going to go next. And that's how it turned out. I went, and my next job, my next project was actually there. If I didn't have the dream, I would never think about that. I would never even consider that. That's, from moving from Perth, Australia, all the way back up there to the north, it's unless you're told, it's not going to cross your mind. So that's the power of dreams. And if you're looking for an answer, if you're looking for help or guidance, it's always there. One other thing I want to mention about this is that the animals in your dreams are very important, terribly important. Now, why are they important? Because an animal is symbolic of the wisdom of the soul, of instinct. Now, the instinct is something which is nature. That is, it unfolds from itself spontaneously, like intuition. So I'll give you an example of what an animal dream might look like. I went deep inwards, and I was working with symbols and mythological symbols and writing my poetry. And one night I had this dream that I've just finished painting a wall blue. Now a wall connects between ceiling and the ground and earth. So there's your connecting like intuition, like the bridge that connects the inner and the outer, the above and the below, which is blue. There's your color of intuition. And I took my pot of paint outside into the backyard. Backyard is your inner life. And I dumped it into an old drain. And the moment I dumped it into the drain, I see a huge pair of eyes looking at me. And in that moment, it just jumps out. A huge frog jumps out, a toad. And when he jumps out, he turns into a little boy, a prince, you see? And the prince sits on the table next to me and starts telling me what happened to him, how he got into that situation. So there's your intuition. There's the soul that actually knows the answers. It knows why it happened, or how it happened that you got into this mess in the first place, and how it gets rescued, because the soul also needs to be rescued. And it can only be rescued or awakened from its own unconsciousness by you taking the effort to work for it. So by turning inwards towards it. That is an important thing to mention, because we always think that the soul is fine, but no, it's actually in your dreams you will see it fallen asleep or gone back into the form of an animal. That means that it's become unconscious in your life. You're not paying attention to it. Another such example is, again, I'm working intuitively, writing poetry with mythological symbols. And this time I find myself in a dark, dark, cold forest. I'm there with a hunter, and the hunter knows the way we need to go. And we made it all the way to a stream, a beautiful stream that's flowing with fresh water. And I go up to the stream, to the edge of the stream, and I have a dead rabbit in my hands. The moment I put the rabbit into the stream and wash it, he springs back to life. And when he springs back to life, he turns into a man, an old man with a beard. He's a shaman. He jumps over the other side of the creek, and he says to me, "Come and I'll show you my children." That is to say, "Come and I'll show you my wisdom." Children of the soul, the wisdom of the soul, the things that you want to know, insights. So that's the power of the animal. The animal, like a rabbit, it moves. If you ever seen a rabbit jump around, it jumps around spontaneously. One moment it's on the ground, one moment it's underneath. Again, you know, you even have great stories in North American Indian tradition of the hare, which is the trickster hare. Yeah? And that is your that is the image of the soul, the creator of the world. You create the world by actually getting involved with the soul, because you name the things that are in the world. That's creation. That's two examples of my own dreams on the personal level. Now, the personal level is important because it's your everyday level. You can work like that every day with it. You can make a companion of soul, and soul just in everyday life. You can ask anything you want, and it will be there. There are medical, there's proof that there's there's a lot of evidence where the soul has actually, what the information in the dream given to someone's health problems was exactly what they needed, and it helped people. If they acted on it, it helped them get healed. Also, there are such a things as remote viewing. I'm sure some of you might be familiar with that. So that if you're sitting here, I'm sitting in Australia, and if I focus on my intuition, the images that are coming into my mind's eye, I can actually see what's happening in another place on the planet. To that end, there is a story, I can't remember the lady's name, but she also does lectures, excuse me, especially on YouTube, I think. She was telling a story of going through the Canadian border. There was something happening in the US, and she needed to go to the Canadian border where they won't be stopped. So she sat down on the chair and she started remote viewing. She connected to her intuition and started seeing which border on the Canadian border would be safe for them to leave, to travel through. There was a group of them, they already made a plan to travel through a certain border, but she saw in her mind's eye that they will get stopped there and they wouldn't make it. So she saw there was another one further up, and they changed their plans. They went through that border and they went stopped. So that's the power of your mind's eye, of your intuition, which is your soul. There are many examples on the personal level. You know, I'm sure some of you are familiar with oh, I can't remember the inventor's name. He invented the electric motor, the radio. Someone help me. What's his name? He was.
It's not Marconi, is it? Marconi?
No. Marconi
No?
actually stole his patent. I'm thinking
Oh my
about
goodness.
Tesla.
Tesla?
Yeah, I'm thinking about Tesla. Tesla says himself in his autobiography, the many autobiographies that were written about him, that many of his ideas came to him in dreams. And one such an example, dreams and your intuition and your visions are the same thing. It's just being able to connect to that level of the soul where your information is presented to you. So one day, he's doing his usual rounds in his usual park where he goes for a walk. The sun is setting and he's looking for a solution to his electric motor. He couldn't find a solution how the electric motor is going to work. And then suddenly he heard words to go there. And he got the image, he dropped onto his knees and he started drawing. And what he drew was like the cylinders of a biplane engine that he needed to put magnets all around, again, circular image, all around, and then the coil inside will spin. And he got that in a vision immediately, and that was the solution to it. That's another example. You know, if you stay with it, the answer will always be there. But the challenge for us is that I've forgotten to stay with it. See? We're all running around looking for quick solutions. Suddenly we start to Google, ask someone's questions. So the soul gets forgotten because it's easier to just see if someone has the answer for you straight away, rather than wait a day or two or a week before the soul answers, but it always answers. So there's your personal level. So you know, you need to incubate your ideas through your dreams, and the answers will be there in the dream. So like I said, you got to have your project that you're working on the side table next to your bed, next to your dream dictionary where you write all your answers, where things will come. So don't wake up straight away in the morning. Don't just get up and start making your coffee. You'll forget everything. It'll be gone. But when you wake up and you're still 1 foot in this dimension where you were just experiencing something, someone was saying something, and you can start to hear the birds chirp, and you can, in between there might be a message. A lot of times I got messages just through that space, space. Now we come to the deeper dimension. And the deeper dimension is a lot harder for me to talk about, because unless you've experienced it, and unless you're familiar with fairy tales and mythology, and you have actually understand what it's talking about, it's a little hard to understand what I might be talking about. But in dreams, it would be going inward and then deeper inward. So for instance, you have come out the house, you've gone to the backyard, and then you're going deeper you have gone to the limit of the backyard, a gate opens and you enter another dimension, another landscape. It will be usually a rural landscape. and and then your journey begins. So you have crossed the threshold of the personal. Personal will also always be associated with city, with your house. But the deeper, the collective, the eternal dimension is usually to do with nature. In nature, you will be in a rural landscape. So you have your rolling hills, you have meadows, you have flowers flowering everywhere. And then you might see a track. It will be usually a dirt track. There's not going to be a road. Civilization, the society has been left behind. Now you're going into another dimension. So it'll be a dirt track. And at that threshold, where you have left the world of the personal, the world of the ego, and you enter the dimension where we all dream the same dream, there will be your guide. There will be a soul waiting for you. At that moment, you have to give up all your fears and all your wants and whatnot, and you got to follow what the alchemists called following in the footsteps of nature, following your soul, because soul is nature. And then so you're following this trail, and it might lead up the apex of a mountain, or to a cave, or to a meadow. So I'll give you a few examples of what that is like. There's a dream of a 9-year-old Sioux Indian called Black Elk. That's some of you are familiar with the story. The book is called Black Elk Speaks. I recommend for all of you to read it. So he's only 9 years old. See, kids still are connected to this level. When we grow up and we start to get educated, we drop out, we forget all about it. So his dream was that he's making this long journey. There's a whole story. It goes for pages and pages and pages, chapters, as he makes it all the way up the hill, up the top of the mountain. And at the top of the mountain, he sees great big hoops of all the nations connected together like one hoop. He calls it as wide as starlight and as old as starlight. And in the middle of this great big hoop of all the people living like one nation, there grows one great big flowering tree. A tree he calls of one mother and one father. So this is where your destiny is. It's once in your lifetime to have made it all the way to the ground of being within which grows the cosmic tree of life. And we are all individual branches on this tree. That's the tree of soul. Connect everything together into oneness. You're not separate, you're always one. That's why he called it the tree of all the people of one mother and one father. He was only 9 years old. So that's one example of this journey to this deeper dimension. Another example is I'll use my own dream this time. Again, I'm deeply inward and working with mythological symbols. In my dream, I've come to a dead end. There is a wall where there should be a door. I have walked this ancient old path, which is paved with flagged stones, and on both sides are old big walls of an ancient temple. And in front of me, there should be a door, but there isn't a door. And in that dream, I remember the moment in Indiana Jones when they are looking for the Holy Grail. There's a moment in the temple where he has to walk, or he falls down on these stones, which spell out the name of God, Yahweh. I don't know if you remember that part in the movie. And in my dream, I remember, so I have to walk in a certain way. I have to touch the stones in a certain way, and the door will open. So I start walking, and I walk on one stone, and then I walk with the other foot on the other stone. So that's the interplay of the opposites. The base of feet, left foot interplays with the right foot, the inner world with the outer world. This is the circulation of information between ego and its source, your soul. And the moment I stepped on one stone and then stepped on the other, naturally, the door opened. The wall just gave way and the door opened. I walked inside this temple. It's perhaps 2 stories high. It has nothing in it but an old stone table and a painting, perhaps 3 meters tall painting. And on the painting is Harry Potter, image of Harry Potter. I'll explain why. So there's Harry with his glasses, with his thunderbolt on his forehead. But overall, the whole painting is painted a spiral. Now, a big spiral that points to the center. Now, why Harry Potter? Because Harry Potter does not belong to one particular tribe, does not belong to any traditional religion, but he's a phenomenon all around the world. He's part of the collective unconscious. You know? And why Harry Potter? Because he's a wizard. He lives both in the dimension of the Muggles and in the dimension of the wizards. He travels to the dimension of the wizard on platform 9 3/4, if you remember. No such thing. So, but the other reason there is Harry Potter, because when he lived in the House of Muggles, he lived under the stairs. And stairs are that cosmic axis that connects above with below. The attic, you go found heckling in life, and that ancient old man with the white beard, and everyday life. There's your axis movement. There's your axis movement. This is what connects the visible with the invisible. So there you go. I've entered into this deeper dimension that of image of a God, which is not personal to me, but it's a collective. It's already been imprinted on the collective psyche of humanity. That's Harry Potter. That's how things work. It's not something that you're entering a dimension with your religion only, into one tribe, but it's where we all dream the same dream, where you always find the tree of life growing in every culture, whether it is the tree upon which Christ was crucified and he made his way to the Father, when after which he said, I and the Father are one. So he said, he was a teacher, he was enlightened, and he said, in John, he says, you are gods. So he was teaching from the experience that you not have to kneel before God. You are God. I and the Father are one. It's the same tree that Odin was hung up for 9 days before he received his vision of runes, the ability to put into words the vision. So it repeats in all cultures. But the same tree, for instance, where you have in Judaism, you have the the Candelabra. So it all repeats, but you have to know that it repeats. You got to make that connection yourself. That's why working with mythological symbols is important, because your intuition will start to make these connections. You say, oh, so this is the same as this. Oh, this is the same as this. So it's really just one story. And then you have this great revelation that says, oh, we are all one. There's no difference. It's just one story that repeats itself over and over in all cultures. We're not different. We are all one. That's what we're trying to find when you're going to the deeper level. There's no difference between us whatsoever. It's just one story, the story of call to adventure, journey inward into that ground of being, the point from which life comes and returns, and then you return to everyday life. And you don't forget about what you've learned, but you actually live now like a master of two worlds, with one foot in this, everyday life, and the other firmly rooted in the inward world. I'll give you another example of how this looks in the dreams when you're actually making that crossing the threshold from the personal to the collective. Often in my dreams, it was where a wall would dissolve, and I entered this rural landscape. So in one dream, I wake up in the bed. To wake up in bed in the dream means you're being active. You're no longer asleep. Being asleep, you're not intuitively active. But to wake up, you're starting to wake up, as in your soul is waking up your own, inner life. And the way it happened was waking up because a bird, a beautiful blue bird, is pecking on my writing finger. Because at that moment I was writing a lot of poetry, mystic poetry. And it's pecking on my finger, and it woke me up. And when I wake up, I see that the bird has changed into a woman, a female figure, and she's standing at the wall there and asking me to follow her. And she's wearing a white, self-luminous dress, long flowing hair. That's the image of soul. Soul is feminine. So that's why it's feminine. The moment I meet her, she takes my hand, the world dissolves, and it's a fog. So we enter through a fog. And because I was asleep and it was during the night, it takes me a while to readjust my eyes. This bright sunlight. You enter this dimension, which is meadows and flowers, and we walked through a little gate in the backyard out into the little dirt track, and we follow all the way up the mountain again, the apex, where Black Elk had his vision of oneness. So this is going back into that ground of being, making a return to the ground of being, which you need to make contact at least once. Now, why? Because it will be in there that you're going to identify with your divinity. Once you identify with your divinity, you will also see a oneness, because it's only one divinity that we are all spark, one unconsumed fire, which we are all individual sparks of. So that's the deeper dimension. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. That's the really deeper dimension. It's difficult to talk about this until you have either experienced it, but more importantly, until you actually process the insight. You have processed your dream. And to process the dream, that's why you need Campbell and Jung, because these two gentlemen not only made it that far, but they've actually named it and they mapped it out. They know what symbols mean. Yeah. Especially Campbell, he called it monomyth. So this thing of shamanic journey inwards, the underworld, meeting of the spirit and returning to everyday life is clearly shown. There are, like I said, there are two levels to this shamanic journey too. There's the personal level, like I said, and then there's the collective. The collective, only very, very few make it that far, because it's so difficult to enter that cosmic dimension. You have to be so dedicated. I'm seeing some of you some have left, or some have turned off the microphones. Are you still all there? No, you see something has happened again.
No, we're here. We just turned off our mics.
Okay, fair enough.
We're here.
I'm thinking Zoom is, Zoom is managing things again.
Zoom has not zoomed us.
Is it, haven't zoomed you out yet? Okay. So you're still in the Zoom boat, so that's good. So we're making the journey to that deeper collective level now. Having mentioned the boat is really important in your dreams, because that's where we make these journeys in the boat. And I can tell you a story about, perhaps some of you are familiar with the Odyssey, and how Odysseus was making his journeys there. And he was initiated by the goddess Sas. She was a goddess, so that's the feminine, again, the soul that is really initiating him. And his first task was to go into the underworld, where he was to meet with Tiresias. And Tiresias was blind, but he was a seer. And Odysseus is lamenting before the goddess. Oh no, how the hell am I going to get there? No one knows the directions. How to find this place? And she says, look, don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything. Just set up your sails and let the northern wind wing you there. Mm-hmm. So you see, if you want to go that far, you can't, you've got to let go, and the guide, the inner guide, guide you there, pull you there, take you there. And you're going there between the opposites. For instance, when Odysseus has returned and he's made his, got the information that he needed from Tiresias, that is to say, he's recovered his inner vision, because Tiresias was only seeing inwards. He's recovered his inner vision, which is your intuition. The next task was for him to go and meet with goddess's father, who was the sun. So he had to travel to the Isle of the Sun with his men. And to make it there, to actually enter that dimension, he had to go between two opposites, two clashing rocks. And that's how we get in. So this is the middle way that you enter. Your right eye will be your thinking. Your left eye is your feeling. Your right eye it sees outwards. Your left eye sees inwards. You travel the middle way that sits between the two and engages in the two. So that's circulation of information between your inner world, your soul and your ego. Without intuition, you can't get in. That's, that's how he got in, and that's where he was initiated into his divinity, and then later made his own, returned home to Penelope, where the masculine and the feminine again live in everyday life together as one. That's the whole point. In our Western society, in our society, to recover the divine feminine. The divine feminine is your soul. That is your visions, your dreams, your intuitions, your creative, whatever, whether it's art or dancing or even cooking or gardening. I wrote about this yesterday. Anything for which the two of you, your soul, and you become friends, meet in the middle way. That's really that's the deeper dimension. That dimension, like I said, is really difficult to get into because it requires total commitment. It requires commitment so that you no longer desire anything more of the world and you're not afraid to die. Because where you're going is you're going beyond the wall of death. This is when we die, that's where we go. And that still point, which is might be a tree, a flowering tree, or a spring, a water bubbling up from the earth, or a meadow, or is there a person or a goddess? That's the point. Beyond that point, you can't go on because we don't know what it's there. It's beyond words. So that's the point where we go to from which life comes. You've come from there, and to which it returns. You remember me talking last time about the particles coming and going? They're found in physics. They kind of disappear and then they appear, but they don't know where they go. Mm-hmm. There's a theory that every galaxy they know that every galaxy has a black hole, but they used to think that the black hole comes because of the galaxy. But there's a proof now in theory that the black hole is the source of the galaxy. That's where all the particles are made from, which it returns after the galaxy collapses. This is where you're going, to that point through which this energy, this mystery comes to this world, and to which it returns when you die. That's why it's so difficult to enter that point. Beyond that point, you can't enter. I don't know what's beyond there. I've never been able to go that far. And all the mystics and shamans will tell you, the ones that have traveled that far, will tell you that you can't really go any further beyond that comprehension. Perhaps if you ask, I've never asked, I never really was interested to know what's beyond there. And perhaps if you ask, I suppose as a soul, as a consciousness, you could travel and have a look. But never really, it was hard enough to get to where I went to see that point and go even further as well. Yeah, required. That's why psychedelics were so popular, because it's easier to drop the ego. You suddenly all your concerns are gone, and you have like Aldous Huxley, telling you he's sitting there, and suddenly you look at a plastic chair, and the plastic chair is magic. See all these molecules, all these energy just bouncing off itself. And that's what forms the chair. That's the funny thing. You can put your hand through it. He says if you were to match the vibration of that vibration of the chair, of the energy that's actually making at that moment, you could put your hand through it. That's the weird stuff. That's why some people like psychedelics. But usually, what I say with psychedelics is you have to, if you try it, it's a very powerful way. But you got to have someone there, because if you enter into the deeper collective, the mythological dimension, you got to have someone to tell you what you've experienced. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Nice trip. Someone was saying she used to teach mythology in the 60s and 70s, where all the kids or the students used to take psychedelics in the US. And they would come to her telling her that they had this wonderful experience, but they couldn't integrate it. There's no one there to tell them what they've experienced. So So they never talked about it because they thought they were weird. There's nothing in our culture where you can compare your experience to. Someone will tell you, well, that's what happened. In the shamanic cultures, in the indigenous cultures, that was always there. Like in North American Indian cultures, that was always there. And they could tell you when you're going on the pollen path, or if you've gone to your vision quest and you had your dream and you come back, and there will be someone, a shaman or someone who will tell you, well, this is what it means. This is that condition. And then you share it with the community. But in ours, there's nothing. You're diagnosed as a schizophrenic, as an idiot. And then they put you on even stronger drugs. You're taking drugs to have vision, and they put you on drugs to stop having visions. That's how it is. There you go. There's a lot of that. I've just sort of, pumped you with a lot of information. I don't expect you to understand any of this. It's not going to make sense in one session or two, or, three. You have a starting point, places and books to turn to read. Read fairy tales, whatever your favorite fairy tale was. I see that fairy tales are making comeback in TV. They have Snow White and all that stuff. These are ancient fairy tales, the stories of our soul. So read them before you go to bed. Whatever favorite fairy tale you had, like Sleeping Beauty, for instance. And read them. Don't be embarrassed if people think, oh, geez, now she's reading fairy tales. Don't worry about that. You keep it to yourself. Some people I know, they put covers over the books that they read, so the family doesn't think they read. They just put white covers over the books, and that gets them by. Because you get people are starting to treat you in a different way. We've completely lost any knowledge of this. But, so if you feel that you're gonna get, suddenly people suggest that you go and see a psychiatrist, the cover of your book, so they don't bother you. But remember your dreams, write down your dreams. If you do want to go deeper, then I suggest you're gonna have to make time for it. It's not going, sometimes it happens spontaneously. I know many people that they went that far, but where they were, the environment where they were, the energy, the work that the person was actually doing, involved with, the person was already opened backward to that eternal mythological dimension. And then it jumped to the other person that they were intimately involved with. Like I told you, my wife many years ago, she had these dreams, and it absolutely frightened her because she was afraid to die. Because there is a feeling that you're dying. Where you're going beyond death. So I had to, move out to the other room because it was starting to get really weird. So if you want to go that deep, you've got to find really someone that has gone that deep and it's still open to going that deep. There's no fear. They can tell you, they can prepare you for what you can expect, what can happen. And when you return, they can help you process that information. And for where you are in the US, I know that the Czech psychologist, Stanislav Grof, and his team are still doing holotropic breathing exercises. He used to work with psychedelics, and then psychedelics got banned. Now he's working with breath work, which gets you into that trance state. And the way they work, this works, is they put you on the floor, they put they close your eyes, they put something over your eyes so you don't see, so you don't project outside. You put the whole thing in you. Then they put really provocative, loud drumming music. Shaman used to get himself into a trance by drumming or repetitively and chanting. And they used to even say that the mystic vehicle was their drum, because that's what got them across the veil. There will be loud drumming music, and then something happens. You're in an environment with work with sense of growth where you're safe. So you don't have to worry that someone's going to laugh at you, because everyone's there for the same purpose. He's been doing this for many, many years. So if any of you are not afraid and not afraid of this dying before dying, and you don't mind, doing it with others, I would suggest. It's very, very difficult to find a place to do a workshop with them. But if you are able to find one, because it will open, it might not open you straight away, depends on the level of your fear. But the good thing about that there too is that there will be someone who understands the mythological language, who will be able to help you process that as well. Because what they usually do is they make you draw or paint whatever you've experienced, and then they talk about it to you. You're not left alone. With the Eastern gurus that teach you how to drop the ego, you go beyond the threshold, and then you come back. Oh, I've had this vision, and they go, yeah, but I don't understand what you're talking about. So you have to have someone. There's no one that really understands the language anymore, unless you go to indigenous people, unless you've had someone, shaman, who's gone that far, and you won't get that help either. So there you go. I've talked now for quite a while. So I've given you quite a lot on dreams. Dreams are very important, so because it's really the easiest way to establish a relationship with the soul, with your soul, and that's what spirituality is about. That's what we want, to establish this balance that you're not only ego, you're not only living with ego, but you're also living with one foot in this other dimension, the one that wants your attention. Yeah, and that's how you become whole, a whole person, both mortal and divine. So now I'll stop talking, and if any of you have any questions, by all means, ask questions.
Merrick,
Yeah.
one thing I thought you might want to mention to people is on Anne Baring's website, she does have a pretty extensive explanation of dreams, and about, she has two separate things, one on the animals and dreams and one general one on dreams.
There you go, yeah. Okay.
People want to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a look, but like Catherine said, I think it's nbaring.com for anyone who wants, but there will be explanation about animals and dreams and so on.
And it's
Baring is very
A-N-N-E Baring, BARING.com.
Yeah, .com. So she's very good because she's a Jungian analyst, so she knows, she's gone through it herself. She's also had big dreams. She's had a big dream of the goddess and so on. So she's not just talking from having read the right books, but she's talking from experience of being there, and then taking years and decades to understand what happened. So that's a big difference.
She has quite a few videos too. I don't know if you want to recommend any specific ones, Mark.
Anything by her is really good. There's the whole journey of alchemy. If any of you are interested in alchemy, she explains alchemy really, really well. Just look for Anne Baring and see what speaks to you. Another thing I would mention is I've written a book recently, and in many of these instructions that I've given you are in that book. It's not a book like a scientific book or anything like that. It's simply written in a really simple way of a small article of poetry every page. So there's no chapters or anything. You just open and you have a look. But once you start looking through it, you will see lots of information there about dream incubation, how to interpret your dreams and symbols. So I would recommend for you my book as well. And the new book that I'm writing, which should be out soon, has everything that I've just said to you. You will have all that in it, everything. And many of my dreams and how I got there, how I interpreted them, how I processed them and all that stuff. This whole journey of soul, of this consciousness of the soul, of calling to you to be rescued, and then you go on the journey to rescue the soul. Seeking beauty, you kiss it back to life, one with it, you see? And then you bring it back into your everyday life, and from then on you live a whole person. You're not only just living like this, mortal flesh. There's nothing more than just your dead body, but there is actually this other dimension within you, which is actually in every cell of your body, in every atom of your body. It's alive, not so much. Not so much just in you. You are within it. Actually, it's like the sea of being. You are within it. The whole universe is it. But that's a talk for another time. The soul is not a simple concept. It's very complicated.
Merrick, Pam's holding up your book so they can see the name. It's called Mystic Soul. In case
Mystic Soul. Yeah, and just look for it on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Mystic Soul, just put in my name and there it is. It's really, it's the simplest way I could think of communicating these rather complex ideas, especially you have information there on how to incubate your personal dreams, but also the deeper dreams, how to go about that and enter that deeper level of collective consciousness. So we all dream the same dream. So any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Understanding dreams and plugging into them, it has a lot of feel-good vibes, whatever. But I have a feeling that most of us on this call are feeling that we're here at this time in evolution or whatever for a purpose and a reason. So how do we use your interpretation of dreams in a way that is helpful to others?
How do we use my interpretation of dreams that is helpful to others?
Meaning, I think personally, I think we all chose to be here at this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that is. I'm still unpeeling that onion.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just want to, I know being intuitive and aware of dreams is, and the soul is very important. But I just want to make sure that I'm paying attention to the right things.
We're here because the divine feminine is coming back. That's what the soul is. That's what dreams are. That's why importance to dreams. I'm stressing importance to dreams and intuition and visions, because if you look at what's happening around the world right now, whether you look at what just happened in the US by-election, or whether you look at what's going on, for instance, in Africa and in India, women are starting, because they are being more educated, they're starting to get the voice back. Women are actually starting to come out and take charge, not only of their own lives, but of the lives of their society, of the communities. There's lots of initiatives, for instance, in Africa, where the money does not go anymore to the husband, but goes to the wife. She's in charge of the family now. What happens to her? Because otherwise, all the money is wasted. The same in India. This is a recent development, and the UN has recently, just as a few years, realized that if they don't take into account a woman, which is half the population of our Earth, we will not have a balanced and healthy society.
Mm.
So that's what's happening now. The woman is an image of the divine feminine. Why? Because it has to do with the instinct, the feminine instinct. So women haven't had access to education for many centuries. So women are closest to that spontaneity of life, which is being connected to the soul, to your heart. Women live far more from the heart. Men, we have already been educated out of it. So if we live the running of our society to men, we will more than likely destroy ourselves, because men are really about power, competing with each other.
Mm.
It's been like that for centuries, for millennia, because male role, archetypally, the male role was to protect the tribe. He was always fighting with the other tribe, and that's what's built into our DNA. A woman is totally different. For all the talk about that men and women are the same, we're not. We're very different creatures. women she is embracing the family. She will embrace the kids of another family without having a second thought. A man won't, because it's not part of his tribe. Big difference. So what's happening now is you will see more and more women actually being involved in running of society. That's why all this is important, because women still haven't lost contact to the heart. And with that comes compassion. And with compassion comes oneness. You see, you're able to relate to other people far easier. They're not the other. They just community. We live on one country earth, and that's it. And another thing is, with the masculine divisiveness, especially with the patriarchal religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, you have total disrespect for nature. Without coming back in our nature, we will destroy nature, and we will take ourselves with it. Because the only thing that is concerned is making a profit, and it doesn't matter how it affects the other species. But we are the other species. Without the other species, we don't exist. Without bees, we don't have food. It's really simple as that. But that's why all these things are actually happening right now. This huge push for climate control, birth control. Women have to take back the control of their bodies. It can't be done through males who, through religion, these males who are celibate, who's never had a relationship with a woman. And he's deciding how many kids she's going to have, whether she's going to have kids or not. Because in countries like the Philippines or South America, where Christianity, where the patriarchs, the Christian patriarchs, also have such a huge grip, you have these shanty towns where people live with 10 or 12 or more kids, because they dare not to abort the children, because they genuinely fear of being sinful and sent to hell. This is what's being told every day, right now, when I speak to you, in South America and in the Philippines. And you have the same thing with Islam. Although the women in Islam, in the Middle East, are starting to wake up now, far more than the women in Africa or where the Christianity is still having a hold. And that the women in the Middle East are waking up because it comes down to economy. The husband can't afford to support the family. They also have big families because Muhammad said you have to multiply. The woman, again, is only there to bring more kids. That's her whole role throughout the whole millennium, throughout the whole 5,000 years. Woman's role was only to bring more kids, and she was running. Then the whole thing was. Then all she did was run the house, bring food. If they had a plot, if they were farmers, she would be working in the field. She would bring in the food. She would look after the house, and she would look after the kids. The husband usually did what he wanted to do, or went and waged another war, or fought another war. That's because men were able to individuate. We had the time to do what we wanted to do. Women didn't, and now that's changing.
I think that men have a role too. I think that men
of course they do.
have to develop their hearts. They have to develop their female
side.
energy.
That's why we're talking about this. Yes, exactly. Yeah. They have to open their hearts, and it is through the male who's already opened his heart that we have all these wonderful things, all the NGOs and things that are running in the world and helping humanity, and all the what's it called, the movement to with nature. Now that's all being started by males, but it has to open your heart. Because if you look at I'll use a chakra system as an example. The first three chakras are your hoarding, your progeny, and power. You begin to be human when you enter this level, the fourth level, the level of the heart. Prior to that, you're only concerned about surviving. Yeah. And this upper level, that's your ascetic. That's going inward. That's going to the deeper level. What I was talking about, the collectiveness. You withdraw from the world, your inner eye opens, and then union of the opposites here. You're more. So men who've already opened their hearts have a huge role. Without men, because men are practical, without men, women can't do this alone. So there isn't really that many males who have opened their hearts. So that's the problem. So that's why we need women to step forward and take charge of society. If we do, I think we will see a new renaissance. There'll be a lot of resistance, especially from the old patriarchs, the old religious type, that'll be huge resistance. As I was telling some of you before we all logged in, I had a message from a Buddhist guy this morning, and he was abusing me that, I said the same. I said that the feminine is rising and women are going to take charge of society, and he got all upset because he's like, patriarchy, he's all, and that's a Buddhist guy, shaved head and the whole works. So you can see that this is upsetting for many, frightening for many. That the privilege of the male is kind of being eroded now. There you go. More questions? Did that help you?
Yes.
See, I've gone off the tangent again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's a good tangent, actually.
Yeah.
I think that Anne may have been asking about, is there a collective thing that we can do? It's
what we're doing now. What we are doing now. It's not going to happen. The TV doesn't want to be. The TV channels will not want to know about it. Like I said, religions, the big religions, the people, the sing-along churches, I call them. They are so big and there's so much money in them because they cater for what the ego wants. There's the hoarding of wealth. There's have as many kids as you want and have power because that's what God wants you to have. That's how they make that much money. And the money pours in because the people get what they want to hear, what the TV values are shouted at them every day. That's why these fundamental churches are so popular now. There's no level of compassion or heart or what Jesus' message was, love your brother like you love yourself. There's none of that. But it's important what we're doing now, the talks we have. I also that's why I like Anne Baring, because she's another spokesman for the divine feminine. The movement that we have, and it's what's happening. I don't know if any of you have heard read what Steve Bannon said just recently. Steve Bannon, the guy that won the election for Trump. That's the Steve Bannon I'm talking about. He said the same thing. You watch it. It's not just about the Me Too movement. Next elections are going to be, between the two powers of patriarchy and matriarchy. And he said, Oprah is winning. So this is where we are at this moment in time. So it's an exciting time. It's going to be a difficult time. But it's the time of rising of the heart, of the opening of the heart. And compassion. And one of the first things we really need to do is, like I said, women have to take charge of societies because women have to take charge of their own bodies. And without that, we can't control our population. So in 2050, we're supposed to reach 10.5 billion people. We don't need more humans, really. We don't need more humans. Because the rate that we are destroying our nature on Earth is way too fast for nature for Earth to regenerate itself. So that's why women have to step in, and no matter what the cost and pain, they have to start taking charge of stuff.
Eric?
Yes.
I thought maybe I would add what the Native American people have said is that the role of women at this time during this transition. They said that women will wake up first and that they will wake up the men.
That's right, because woman is still in touch with her heart, the nature. The reason woman is also a divine feminine, because for many thousands of years, the male role wasn't known, and she was giving birth of herself. The child was born magically. They thought it's magic that she gives birth to new life by herself.
The
virgin birth is the second birth. But this was, they thought, people of Stone Age and before, that this was magic. She was just bringing new life by herself. And then, of course, they figured out that the male plays a very important role in that.
Very important.
Yeah, but that stays in our psyche. That stays in our soul. So if you go back, like I said, to the deeper dimension within which we have the record of all the evolution, the development of our species, of the soul, of consciousness, woman will still have her role. She will still be that goddess, that magic that brings life of herself. She's self-generating. That's why it's feminine. And heart is self-generating. So is nature. Like this flower does not ask the next door flower, so how do you bloom? How do you do your stuff? It just does it from itself. And that, by the way, is the flower sermon of Buddha. Any of you familiar with the flower sermon of Buddha? He was going to give a talk like I'm giving right now. He had all these disciples sitting around him. And I might say that his first disciples were not just men, but also women. He freed a lot of women out of this cycle of being just the bringer of new life, of babies and running the house. Because he started up communities where men and women could live equally. Anyway, so he starts this sermon, and all he does is lifts up a flower. And only one of his disciples got the message. He nodded his head, but the others were sitting there like eyes like dinner plates, didn't understand what was going on. So he had to give him the sermon. He had to give him a talk. Do you understand when you lift up a flower what it means? That's nature. It doesn't ask, it doesn't need anything else. It lives from itself. It knows exactly what to do. And that's your heart. That's the soul. That's what I mean by asking the soul, the deeper, the divine part of you in dreams. So what is the answer? What do I do in this situation? How do I solve this? How do I write my book? Is this the right way? Is that the right way? And it will lead you to the answers. If it doesn't give you a straight answer, it will lead you to someone that knows what you need. Or synchronicity will happen and suddenly you find a book that you will need. It will lead you to people that you need to meet or someone you talk to. You might be sitting in a car and suddenly a song comes on and then there's a word or two in there that you absolutely have to have because it's important to you. That's what you were looking for. So you grab your notebook, which you should always carry with you, and your pen, and you write it down. Or you might be standing in a queue in a bank and two people are arguing together. What they said to each other suddenly you jump up and you grab your book and you start writing. They're looking at you. What are you doing? But then it will make no difference. It will make no sense. But you know what you just heard. It's important to you. That's what I mean. That's the sermon of the flower. You lift up. It doesn't need anything else. You live from yourself, from within your own inward resources, and that's instinct, nature. That's why animals are so important. Horses are so important. Cynthia, there's a story. Which I'll go into one day further. But there's a story. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Parsifal in medieval Europe, where he was making a journey for the Grail, for the Holy Grail, and he got lost in the forest. He didn't know how to find his way back to the castle, to the Grail castle. So what does he do? He lets go the reins of his horse, and it's his horse that leads him there. You see, that's the instinct. That's animal instinct. And animals have this intuitive connection, this dimension, and they just know which way to go. That's how he found his way back to the Grail. That's horse, Cynthia. He was riding a horse. That's why we get so attracted to our animals and our pets. Any more questions?
Can I just make a quick comment? Because I've noticed you've said the phrase, the power of dreams, a number of times. Actually, I have a group on Facebook, The Power of Dreams. I started in, I think, 2013. There's about 10,000 members on it, and quite a few people are female and very good dreamers, very intuitive. And sorry, I'm just getting a call right now. But both dreamers and interpreters. So what I see developing is a shift of consciousness from force-based to attraction-based. And you could call that male or female, you can call that masculine or feminine, but it encompasses all of humankind. But it is taking on a higher level of consciousness because you're bringing things to you rather than, well, forcing or making or taking.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're creating a relationship with it. You're not, it's a give and take. You ask and it answers, and then you say something and it speaks back. You see, that's what it is. And it's, of course, we can say, well, one is feminine, the other is masculine, but we have both within us.
Certainly.
The masculine is your ego. The masculine is your head, and the feminine is your heart. The most difficult journey that we make in our life is from our head to our heart. It's the recovery of our feminine. The feminine is your dreams, your visions, and your intuitions. And that's the feminine. That's nature. That's like I was just saying now. The nature of the power of a plant, the power of an animal. They don't ask the next door flower what to do. They just unfold from themselves, and that's the feminine. Was that helpful? Yeah. Any more questions?
Mark, I've heard that for a long time it will be groups like this, small groups, that will make all the changes.
Yes. It's not going to be mainstream because there's too much resistance, too much fear to that. We've lived this way for some 5,000 years, so you can't expect it to happen in one generation. It's a very, very slow, gradual process. But underneath the surface, underneath of all the TV values, you see, there is this, like Dale was saying, that there is this huge interest in this, huge interest in this. But it's kept in little pockets of it's not mainstream. There's little pockets. I remember I used to watch, one of my favorite TV shows was Psychic TV here in Australia. You had live psychics like we now connected, and people would ring, ask a question, and this person is really talented. It's really like that. It's like a heart. Would connect to the other person intuitively straight away, and they could tell things the distance without any problems. And you know, the psychic TV, their license was suspended in many different channels because people don't think it's interesting. First they started broadcasting at 9 p.m. Then the schedule was pushed back to 10 p.m. Eventually it was 12 at midnight, and then they had to switch channels because you see, in main TV is not interested in that kind of stuff. It's embarrassing to me. But yeah, so it will be on little pockets and little places like Facebook. Internet is really, really good for this because we can finally meet like this, and there will be, the war people, they can finally meet and talk about this stuff openly, where we had to keep it to ourselves, cover up books, just people don't think we're crazy. Now it's because of the internet, it is far more open, and we can meet, and it's actually healing to be able to meet like this, to be able to talk on this level of consciousness. For many people, I remember people who would cry because they haven't been able to speak about any of these experiences to anyone else. if they, for the first time, they're able to talk, they would cry. It was actually a relief, feeling relief that they are able to talk about this. Now, I would mention that U.S. is far ahead in all these things than the rest of the world, even Europe. Far ahead than here in Australia. You know, here Sunday comes and you got sports. You have cricket and football and car racing. And Sunday used to be always dedicated to spiritual things. There you have it. Here now it's kicking football, playing cricket, and advertising booze. That's where we've come, here in Australia at least. The US is far more ahead, I would say, far more conscious. There are a lot more conscious people in the US. I was really surprised when I opened up my Facebook account some 7 years ago, and straight away I met people, especially Jungians, because I would post a lot of my dreams and experiences, and they were going, oh, you know, this is so exciting, you know. So, and they were all from US. Hardly any here from Australia or Europe. There's a few in Europe, but yeah, everyone in the US. That's why I was saying to Pamela the other day. She says, "Oh, I must be doing all this work in Australia." I said, "No, most of my work is done in the US. In fact, through Facebook, through email, through messaging. If I work with someone one-on-one." So there you have it. Any more questions?
Well, I hope next week will be much smoother. I'll do some more learning, watching videos.
Oh, the Zoom boat.
Yes.
Look, it all worked out fine in the end. Now we know that, you know, Zoom is a bit more strict. It's not as easy as Skype. It's a little bit more funny when it comes to clicking on links. It just likes its own links, doesn't like you to be the boss. Zoom has to be the boss. So, yeah, next time I'm sure we'll be fine. Next time I'm thinking, we've talked about dreams, we've talked about me so much, so maybe we'll talk a bit about poetry next week, like mystic poetry. That'd be of interest to you?
Mystic poetry?
Poetry,
Yes.
mystic poetry, because mystic poetry is like working with mythological symbols. You also make the connection, you also make that relationship with soul. That's very important, because it's spontaneous. It's spontaneous. If you don't stop and you don't give up because you've written like 3 pages and it sounds like crap, keep going, and eventually it will be less and less and shorter and shorter, and you will start to sound like Rumi, and you go, oh my God, I'm so good, you know. Then you go, oh, maybe I'm going to publish this and that, and then you publish, and you get torn to pieces, and oh my God, so I got to start again. So I would say, when it comes to poetry, keep it to yourself until you feel really confident. Yeah, until you really feel really confident in your skills. And what's important is, even if you get ripped to pieces, just keep going. Like with Dream Story, you know, there's always going to be critics there. People who don't understand. People who are jealous. Usually, just jealous. If you're really good, or if you keep, even if you're just writing because it makes you feel good, that's the whole thing of it, is actually to make you whole, to heal you. That's what we do, all this work. But if you do decide to, I have a few that are already posting their work on Facebook, and I said the same thing to them. You know, if you do get ripped into pieces by some bully or some critic who's jealous because you can and they can't, don't worry about it. Just keep going. Just really keep going. And eventually they did. And now their work is being shared. That's a big achievement. That's also a big, boost. What you're doing is appreciated. You do all want to be appreciated, of course.
I don't want to cross over into next week, but do you recommend the mystic poetry writing more than intuitive writing?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Mystic poetry means simply that you're writing from that deeper level, the collective level. Like I said, it's not so much me and my cat, we have a great pet, but rather me and my fountain of life. You know, it's important to make that connection, to that deeper connection, because your everyday stuff is not that difficult to do. You will hear voices you think before your heart will speak, like I said, in the radio or on TV or in your dreams. So that deeper dimension is a little bit more harder to get. But if you learn the mystic poetry, which I'll go through next week, it's not really that difficult. And it doesn't have to be pages and pages long, just a few lines. But the important thing is once you start, once you get inspired, going. Carry that little booklet with you and write. I used to write everywhere. I still have like notebooks, you know, drawers full of notebooks, and most of it is just rubbish. But the whole point is just to keep going. And the more you're going, the clearer the words become, the more beautiful it is, the more articulate it becomes. Then suddenly you realize, oh, not me, but something else. And that's mystic. So that'll be next week. Yeah? Anyone has any questions?
Anybody else before we close?
Thank you very much, Marek.
Thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you.
Thank you, Merrick.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. I hope I didn't flood you too much with information, but look, if you have any more further questions, you know how to get in touch with me.
Okay.
I'm always here or through Pamela. I'm always on Facebook or through Pamela, or just email me or message me. If you have a dream, I would say, because what we've done now is introverted you so much. It made you stay still and listen and pay attention. And that's waking up your soul. So rather than going out there now to the pub or watching football, watching a crazy movie, maybe go to bed and ask yourself, well, clarify this. This is also weird. Clarify this stuff. See what happens.
Well, I was going to say, if anybody wants to stay on and talk.
Yeah, keep going if you like. Yeah, keep going. Just keep discussing this, because that's how you introvert. That's how you start to open up. That's how your heart opens. And in conversation between two people, actually conversation, that's how intuition starts to cut in. And then suddenly you realize, oh, I didn't mean to say this, but you did. And something else is talking through you now. You see?
Well,
Okay, was that helpful?
Yes.
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 All right. So you look after yourselves, and I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, Mike.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye.
Thank you. See ya. Okay. How do we get out of here?
Leave meeting on the bottom.
Leave meeting at the bottom.
Bottom right hand side.
On
Okay.
my screen, it's at the top.
Yeah, he got it.
You got it.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about all the, well, I was going to say clusterfuck in the beginning, but that's what it was. And Amy, I was trying to call you, and Catherine, I was trying to call you, and because I couldn't get back to the normal page. Every time I opened it up, I could get to my meetings and then click on it to start. So I was very frustrated.
Well, it worked out fine. I sent the wrong email to them the first time. I sent them the one for our gathering, and because I was trying to hurry, I didn't realize the wrong email.
Right.
But you told me to check, and you were right. So I kept looking, and then I found it, and they got it and got on. So it worked out. Don't worry about it. If I hadn't had that little flood in my garage, I would have been on the phone at 6:45. None of this would have happened. So.
Well, I started getting on the phone at 6:15, trying to send emails to your people and to Julie. And I did get it sent out to Julie. But
Well, I think I better go over with you the email address for Linda and Cynthia.
I've been in contact with them. So I got it.
So now you have the correct one, because they didn't get the link.
No. When I went in to try to send the link tonight, it wasn't in, they weren't in my contacts, but they're in my contacts. I put them in.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was really screwy.
Okay, so next time you won't have a problem. You know the correct email.
Yes, I got all that worked out this morning.
Okay.
But you know, when it clicks on email, I was trying to add them that way. They weren't in my contacts. So
Okay.
I don't know what was going on there.
No, it's always some little fun thing, isn't it? You know, we need to figure out how to tell Merrick to face the camera, not sideways. And basically we need to tell him to turn 90 degrees to the right so we can see his face, because he's always talking sideways on my screen.
Well, I did change my computer around tonight.
Yeah,
so
yours,
I wouldn't be sideways.
yeah. But he doesn't know that he's sideways, I don't think, or else he keeps forgetting to talk into the camera.
Well, why don't you send him a little note saying that?
I'm going to, because I thought it would be nicer to have him facing us. And I also think there's something you can tap on the screen for him to tap on. And then he gets big and our pictures get small.
Mhm.
You know about that, Amy?
Every time one of us talks, like I'm talking right now, all of a sudden my picture is huge and y'all's get small. So whoever is talking, that happens.
Not that doesn't happen with mine. We were all 6 of us.
Yeah.
9 of us the same.
Mine's just the same size. My picture of me and you and the blank one of Dale with the mute thing and Pamela's 4 squares, like
Right.
the screen cut into 4 sections. Right. So I'm in gallery view. Let me tap and see what else. I think it says switch to camera or switch to active speaker. So maybe this is switch to active speaker.
It is, yep.
But it doesn't get big on mine. When he was talking, his little square was the same as everybody else's.
Yes.
For me.
Not for mine. When he was talking, it was big.
Okay, so what does your screen say? Like, look at your screen, tap on your screen and see what's lit up and maybe we can match it somehow.
Okay, let's see. Clear. It's at full screen.
It does say full screen somewhere?
Right now, I exited full screen and I still have, when I'm talking, mine's bigger.
Yeah.
Now, okay, gallery view. Go into that gallery view thing, click on it several times, and I think it'll shift your